Ever since we could look up at the stars, we've wondered, right? Are we alone? We've told all these stories about gods coming down from the heavens, completely shaping our world. But what if they weren't just stories? What if the proof of ancient alien visitors has been right here all around us, just waiting to be found? So, let's just start with this question that the theorists themselves ask. It's this idea that we're standing right on the edge of a discovery so huge, it could totally rewrite human history as we know it. The big idea we're diving into here is the ancient astronaut theory. Now, this was really made famous back in 1968 by Erich von Däniken in his book, Chariots of the Gods. And the theory basically says that all the weird artifacts, the impossible buildings, the myths about sky gods from our past, they're all clues. Clues that point to one incredible truth. We had help. Okay, so where's the proof, right? Well, proponents say the first place to look is at the messages written right into the Earth itself. These massive structures and symbols that they argue only really make sense if you're looking down from the sky. And we're going to start at one of the most famous ancient spots on the whole planet. For centuries, Stonehenge has just baffled everyone. But then in 2015, using ground-penetrating radar, archaeologists found something that was a total game-changer. Just a couple miles away at a place called Durrington Walls. Yeah, they called it Superhenge, and for good reason. I mean, this wasn't just a few rocks. We're talking about a huge arc of almost 100 massive stones, all deliberately buried. But here's the kicker, the part that rewrites the textbooks. This thing is believed to be older than Stonehenge itself. And that discovery just blows the doors wide open, right? If this was the original, bigger monument, what was it for? Now, archaeologists think it was part of this huge ritual area for the living. But ancient astronaut theorists, they suggest something way more radical. Could these have been giant markers, signals meant for someone looking down from above? And get this wasn't a one-off thing. In what seems like an unbelievable coincidence, right around the time Superhenge was making news, satellite pictures revealed something just as mind-blowing on the other side of the world. Hundreds of giant patterns carved into the landscape of Kazakhstan. The age is just staggering. Some of these are up to 8,000 years old. Just let that sink in for a second. That's thousands of years before the pyramids were even a thought, and almost 6,000 years older than the famous Nazca Lines in Peru. And speaking of the Nazca Lines, recent finds there show that this tradition of carving giant figures in the desert went on for centuries, across different cultures. This wasn't some one-time project. It was a massive, multi-generational effort. And you have to ask, why? Were they all trying to get the attention of the same visitors coming back? Okay, so let's shift gears a bit. We've looked at giant signs on the ground, now let's go to secrets that might be locked away inside the tombs of some of history's most fascinating and mysterious rulers. So back in 2015 again, high-resolution scans inside King Tut's famous tomb picked up on these faint lines and weird temperature spots on the walls of his burial chamber. The data pointed to something that was just unthinkable. There might be sealed-off, hidden doors leading to rooms nobody knew existed. The leading theory from Egyptologist Nicholas Reeves is that these hidden rooms could lead to the tomb of Queen Nefertiti, which has been lost for thousands of years. This would also explain why Tut's tomb is so tiny for a pharaoh. Maybe he was just buried in an outer part of her much bigger tomb. And this is where the ancient astronaut theory really kicks in, because Nefertiti is a huge deal to them. Because, see, Nefertiti and her husband, the pharaoh Akhenaten, were just different. I mean, look at this comparison. Every other pharaoh depicted with normal human features, worshiping a whole bunch of gods. But Akhenaten and Nefertiti, they're shown with these really strange long skulls, and they forced all of Egypt to worship just one god, Aten, who they described as a flying solar disk. So here's the debate. Mainstream Egyptologists say this weird look was just a brief artistic style. But the theorists, they ask, what if it wasn't art? What if it was a literal portrait? They believe that if we find Nefertiti's tomb, we might find the ultimate proof, DNA that could show an origin that is not of this earth. All right, from hidden tombs in Egypt, our next clue takes us across both the Atlantic and the Pacific.
We're following a trail of this strange, toxic, and super rare element that keeps showing up where it has absolutely no business being. So in Mexico, archaeologists were digging deep under the pyramid of the feathered serpent god, Quetzalcoatl, and they found pools of liquid mercury. Now this is truly bizarre. Mercury is a heavy metal that we use today for things like conducting electricity. Finding it in a 2,000-year-old tomb is a total mystery.
But hold on, because here's where it gets really wild. Thousands of miles away in China, ancient texts say that the tomb of the first emperor, Qin Shi Huang, which has never been opened, is filled with rivers and oceans of flowing mercury. So you have two ancient cultures, separated by an ocean, both connecting their most important tombs to a flying god and a whole lot of liquid mercury.
So you have to ask yourself, is this just an impossible coincidence? Proponents of the theory say no way. They ask if maybe the flying serpent in Mexico and the dragon from heaven in China were just two different ways of describing the same thing, advanced spacecraft, and that the mercury found at both sites was part of some shared alien technology.
So we've got these giant signals pointing to the sky, hidden tombs of very strange-looking rulers, and a trail of a mysterious element connecting ancient civilizations. So where does all this leave us?
Let's just quickly review the case file we've built. The clues are literally all over the globe. We have enormous earthworks in Europe and Asia that look like signals to the sky. We have the potential for sealed chambers in Egypt tied to pharaohs who just didn't look like anyone else. And we have this strange chemical breadcrumb trail of liquid mercury that connects the ancient Americas and China.
You know, one theorist put it in a way that really sticks with you. They said, these aren't just ruins. What they left behind is like a time capsule. They're messages to us, just waiting to be read.
And the reason this is all bubbling to the surface right now is our technology. I mean, ground-penetrating radar, satellite imaging, thermal scans. These tools let us see under the ground and behind ancient walls in ways our ancestors could have never dreamed of. We're finding new clues all the time that make us question everything we thought we knew.
Which leads us to the final, really provocative thought. If these clues are real, and if our technology is finally letting us piece them all together, what happens when we find that final piece of the puzzle? What if the next great discovery isn't another artifact, but an actual face-to-face encounter? Are we, after all this time, finally about to meet our makers?